The sleek F-16 Fighting Falcon cuts through the azure sky like a silver blade, its engines roaring with the fury of controlled thunder. Inside the cockpit, steady hands grip the controls with the confidence of someone who was born to fly. But what happened next shocked everyone who thought they knew the woman behind those aviator glasses. 9 years later, those same hands are wrapped around a mop handle, methodically cleaning the linoleum floors of Jefferson High School at 6 a.m. Martha Simmons moves through the empty hallways with quiet efficiency, her custodial cart squeaking softly as she navigates between lockers covered in teenage rebellion. At 52, she's invisible to most people, just another face in the army of workers who keep the world running while everyone else sleeps. "Morning, Martha," calls out Sandra, the school secretary, rushing past with an armload of files. Martha nods politely, her warm brown eyes crinkling at the corners with a gentle smile. She's been the overnight janitor here for 3 years now, ever since she moved to this small Ohio town. Everyone knows her as the quiet woman who somehow always knows exactly how to get grape juice stains out of white shirts and never complains about working weekends. Little did anyone know that less than a decade ago, Martha Simmons was Captain Martha Phoenix Simmons, one of the most decorated fighter pilots in the United States Air Force. The memories flash through her mind unbidden as she empties trash cans in classroom 202. The weight of her flight helmet. The pre-flight checks she could perform blindfolded. The rush of breaking the sound barrier at 30,000 feet. The brotherhood and sisterhood of the squadron that felt more like family than her actual family ever had. She pushes the thoughts away, focusing instead on the tangible reality of her surroundings: fluorescent lights humming overhead, the smell of industrial cleaner, the upcoming bell that will flood these hallways with hundreds of teenagers. "Martha, you missed a spot over there," snickers Tyler, a particularly obnoxious junior, pointing at a section of floor she'd already cleaned twice. His friends laugh, and Martha simply nods, returning to re-clean the non-existent mess. She's learned that fighting back only makes things worse. Better to be invisible. But invisibility has its price. As she works, Martha catches fragments of conversations from the teacher's lounge, discussions about respect, about dreams deferred, about students who don't understand what real sacrifice looks like. Sometimes she wants to tell them about the time she flew 12 consecutive missions over hostile territory, or about being one of only 17 women in her graduating class at the Air Force Academy. Instead, she listens and cleans. This decision would change everything, but Martha doesn't know it yet as she unlocks the storage closet to retrieve fresh supplies. Her coworker Anna Martinez is already there, organizing cleaning products with characteristic precision. Anna's been working the day shift for 7 years, and she's the closest thing Martha has to a friend at Jefferson High. "You know, Martha," Anna says, not looking up from her clipboard, "I've been meaning to ask you something. Yesterday, when I was helping you move those boxes in the basement." She pauses, her dark eyes meeting Martha's with curiosity. "I saw something fall out of your locker." Martha's blood runs cold, but she keeps her expression neutral. "Oh?" Anna reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small, worn photograph. It shows a younger Martha in full Air Force dress uniform, standing proudly beside an F-16 Fighting Falcon. Her pilot's wings gleam on her chest, and her smile radiates the kind of confidence that only comes from conquering the impossible. "This is you, isn't it?" Anna's voice is barely above a whisper, her eyes wide with disbelief. Martha stares at the photograph for a long moment, her fingers trembling slightly as she takes it. 9 years she's kept this secret buried. 9 years of letting people see only what they expected to see: a simple janitor, nothing more, nothing less. But the real shock was still coming. Anna's eyes dart between the photograph and Martha's face, searching for any crack in the composed mask her colleague has worn for 3 years. The staff room feels smaller suddenly, the fluorescent lights humming louder as Martha slowly sets down her coffee cup. "Where did you find this?" Martha's voice carries a weight Anna has never heard before. "It fell out of your locker when you grabbed your jacket yesterday," Anna says, sliding the photo across the worn table. "Martha, this is you in a fighter pilot uniform. I've been staring at it all night, trying to understand." Martha picks up the photograph with trembling fingers, her thumb tracing the younger version of herself standing proudly beside an F-16. The woman in the image radiates confidence, her chin raised, eyes fierce with determination, nothing like the quiet janitor who empties trash cans and mops floors. "That was a long time ago," Martha whispers, but Anna leans forward, refusing to let this moment slip away. "How long?" "Martha, you were a pilot? An actual fighter pilot?" The silence stretches between them until Martha finally exhales deeply. 9 years ago. I flew my last mission 9 years ago." Her voice cracks slightly. "Something happened up there, Anna. Something that made me realize I needed to come back down to earth and stay there." But before Anna can press for more details, the staff room door bursts open and Principal Henderson rushes in, his face flushed with excitement. Behind him trails Mrs. Garcia from the front office, both of them talking rapidly. "Ladies, you need to see this," Henderson announces, grabbing the remote and turning up the volume on the small television mounted in the corner. The local news anchor's voice fills the room, breaking news from Riverside Airfield where preparations for this weekend's annual Memorial Day air show have hit a serious snag. The Blue Angels lead pilot was injured in a training accident yesterday, and with less than 48 hours until the show, organizers are desperately searching for qualified pilots to fill the gap. Martha's coffee cup freezes halfway to her lips. Anna watches as every muscle in her friend's body tenses. The reporter continues, "Military officials are reaching out to retired pilots in the area, but finding someone with the necessary qualifications and security clearance on such short notice is proving nearly impossible." The airshow, which honors fallen service members and raises funds for veterans' families, may have to cancel several key performances. Principal Henderson shakes his head sympathetically. "Shame about that pilot. I heard it takes years of training to fly those jets properly." Anna's eyes never leave Martha's face. She watches as her colleague's jaw tightens, as her knuckles whiten around the coffee cup. There's something happening behind Martha's eyes, a flicker of the same intensity Anna saw in the photograph. "Martha?" Anna's voice is barely audible. Martha blinks hard, as if snapping out of a trance, and quickly stands. "I need to get back to work. The third-floor bathrooms won't clean themselves." But as she moves toward the door, the news report shifts to archival footage of previous airshows. The screen fills with the thunderous beauty of fighter jets performing precision maneuvers, their engines screaming across blue skies. Martha stops dead in her tracks, her hand frozen on the door handle. Anna sees it then, the way Martha's breathing changes, the way her shoulders straighten slightly. It's subtle, but unmistakable. This woman has been in those cockpits. She knows exactly what those pilots are feeling as they dance through the air. The community is rallying to support the airshow, the anchor concludes. Anyone with military flight experience who might be able to help is encouraged to contact Riverside Airfield immediately. The room falls quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Henderson and Mrs. Garcia chat quietly about the inconvenience, but Anna's attention is laser-focused on Martha, who hasn't moved from the doorway. Finally, Martha turns back into the room, her eyes meeting Anna's across the table. For just a moment, the mask slips completely, and Anna sees something that takes her breath away, longing so intense it's almost painful to witness. "Martha," Anna says quietly, "how many people really know what you used to do?" "Just you now," Martha replies, her voice barely a whisper. "And it needs to stay that way." But Anna can see the internal war playing out across her friend's features. The woman who changed her own car's oil during lunch breaks, who instinctively looked up every time a plane passed overhead, who sometimes stood on the roof during her break, staring at the distant airfield with an expression Anna could never quite interpret. The phone in the main office begins ringing insistently, and Mrs. Garcia hurries out to answer it. Through the thin walls, they hear her voice rise with surprise. "She's what? Are you serious? Hold on, let me find Principal Henderson." A chill runs down Anna's spine as she realizes that whatever call is coming through, it's about to change everything. The way Martha's face has gone completely pale suggests she knows it too. The door flies open again, and Mrs. Garcia appears breathless in the doorway, her hand covering the phone receiver. Principal Henderson, you're not going to believe this, but there's someone on the phone claiming they have information about a qualified pilot right here in our school. The morning air at Riverside Airfield carries the familiar scent of aviation fuel and possibilities. Martha walks slowly across the tarmac, her cleaning uniform replaced by simple jeans and an old leather jacket. Her eyes drift upward as two F-16s thunder overhead, their engines creating a symphony she hasn't allowed herself to hear in 9 years. Martha? Martha Simmons? She turns to see a figure approaching from the hangar, his stride confident and familiar. Lieutenant Jack Thompson hasn't changed much, same cropped hair, same easy smile that could charm his way out of any disciplinary meeting. Jack. Her voice carries a mixture of surprise and caution. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. He stops just feet away, studying her face with the intensity of someone trying to solve a puzzle. Anna Rodriguez called me. Said she worked with someone who might be the Martha Simmons from the 442nd Squadron. Martha's jaw tightens. Anna had no right to. She was worried about you. Jack's expression softens. Look at you, Martha. You're wasting away in that school when you should be up there. He gestures toward the sky where contrails are already dissipating. Those days are over, Jack. I made my choice. But Jack isn't listening to her protests. He's watching her eyes, and what he sees there tells a different story. You know about the Memorial Airshow next weekend? We're down 3 pilots. Engine trouble, family emergencies, the usual chaos. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. We need you. Martha shakes her head, but her resolve wavers as another jet screams past. Her hands unconsciously mimic the grip of a flight stick, muscle memory refusing to fade despite years of neglect. I haven't flown in almost a decade, Jack. You can't just. Bullshit. The word cuts through her excuses like a blade. You don't lose that kind of skill. It's in your blood, Martha. It's who you are. The conflict playing across Martha's features is visible, pride warring with fear, duty wrestling with desire. She remembers the last time she climbed into a cockpit, the mission that changed everything, the reason she walked away from the only life she'd ever known. The airshow honors fallen pilots, Jack continues, his voice growing more urgent. Including Tommy Rodriguez and Sarah Chen from our old squadron. You remember them, don't you? The names hit like physical blows. Martha closes her eyes, seeing their faces, remembering their laughter in the ready room, their dedication to something bigger than themselves. That's not fair, and you know it. Fair? Jack's voice rises. What's fair about you cleaning floors when you could be inspiring the next generation of pilots? What's fair about hiding your light under a bushel while kids grow up thinking they can't achieve their dreams because they don't see people like them in the cockpit? The words hang in the air between them, challenging everything Martha has told herself about her decision to step away. In the distance, the control tower radio crackles with pilot chatter, a language she once spoke fluently. I see it in your eyes, Jack presses. You miss it. The freedom, the precision, the feeling of being exactly where you belong. Stop punishing yourself for what happened overseas. That wasn't your fault. Martha's composure finally cracks. You don't understand what it's like, Jack. Every night, I dream about. She stops abruptly, unwilling to voice the memories that haunt her sleep. Then dream about something new. Dream about showing those kids at your school that a black woman can do anything she sets her mind to. Dream about honoring Tommy and Sarah by being who you really are. The argument is interrupted by Jack's radio crackling to life. Lieutenant Thompson, we need you back at headquarters immediately. Priority Alpha. Jack keys the radio without breaking eye contact with Martha. Copy that. En route. He clips the device back to his belt. Martha, I have to go, but think about what I said. The airshow is in 6 days. We need an answer by tomorrow. As he walks away, Martha remains rooted to the spot, staring up at the endless expanse of blue sky. A pair of hawks circles overhead, riding thermals with an effortless grace that makes her heart ache with longing. Her phone buzzes. A text from Anna. Whatever Jack said to you, just remember, sometimes the thing we're most afraid to do is exactly what we need to do. Martha's fingers tighten around the phone as another formation of jets approaches the airfield, their engines growing louder, demanding her attention. But as she watches them prepare for landing, her radio app catches an emergency transmission that makes her blood run cold. The emergency alert changes everything, and suddenly Martha realizes that tomorrow might be too late for her decision. The morning news crackles through the school's ancient television mounted in the corner of the staff room, its volume barely audible over the hum of the ancient coffee machine. Martha sits with her usual cup of black coffee, trying to blend into the background as she always does. But today, the news anchor's words slice through her carefully constructed invisibility like a blade. The annual Thunder Valley Air Show is facing an unprecedented crisis. With 3 pilots grounded due to medical emergencies and another's aircraft experiencing mechanical failure, organizers are desperately seeking qualified pilots. The show, which draws over 50,000 spectators and generates millions for local charities, may have to cancel several demonstrations for the first time in 30 years. Martha's hand trembles slightly as she sets down her coffee cup, the ceramic making a soft clink against the table. Anna notices immediately, her eyes darting between Martha and the television screen. "That's terrible," Anna whispers, but her gaze never leaves Martha's face. All those people who were counting on seeing those incredible pilots perform. The news continues with footage of sleek fighter jets performing aerial maneuvers, their engines roaring through the small speakers. Martha's breath catches as she watches an F-16 execute a perfect barrel roll, memories flooding back like a dam bursting. She knows that feeling, the G-forces pressing against her body, the absolute focus required, the pure exhilaration of dancing with the sky. "You know," Anna says carefully, her voice barely above a whisper, "someone with the right experience could probably help them out." Before Martha can respond, Principal Hayes bursts through the staff room door, his usually composed demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. His eyes lock onto Martha with an intensity that makes her stomach drop. "Martha," he says, his voice carrying across the small room, "we need to talk. Now." The other teachers in the staff room fall silent, sensing the gravity in his tone. Martha feels every pair of eyes in the room turn toward her, her carefully maintained anonymity crumbling in real time. "I just got off the phone with Anna's husband," Principal Hayes continues, ignoring the audience they've attracted. "Seems he's been doing some research about your background. About your service record." Martha's world tilts on its axis. Anna's husband works for the base administration office. Of course he would have access to military records. After 9 years of perfect secrecy, her past is unraveling in the most public way possible. "Sir, I really don't think this is the place," Martha begins, but Hayes cuts her off with a wave of his hand. "Squadron Leader Martha Simmons," he says, letting each word hang in the air like a revelation. 15 years of active duty. Over 2,000 flight hours in F-16s and F-18s. Distinguished Flying Cross recipient. The same Martha Simmons who's been cleaning our floors and fixing our broken desks for nearly a decade. The staff room erupts in whispered conversations and shocked exclamations. Martha feels the walls closing in, 9 years of careful construction crashing down around her. She stands abruptly, her chair scraping against the linoleum floor. "I need some air," she mutters, pushing past Hayes toward the door. But he follows her into the hallway, his voice echoing off the lockers. "Martha, listen to me. Those people at the air show, they need someone with your skills. You could make a real difference." "I clean bathrooms and empty trash cans," Martha says firmly, not turning around. "That's who I am now. But that's not who you have to be." The words stop her cold. She turns to face him, seeing something in his eyes she's never noticed before, respect, admiration, maybe even a little awe. "Do you have any idea what this means?" Hayes asks. "You're a hero. A real hero. And you've been hiding it from us this whole time." Martha's phone buzzes in her pocket, but she ignores it. Then it buzzes again. And again. Finally, she pulls it out, seeing Jack Thompson's name flashing on the screen. She hesitates for a moment, then answers. Jack, I can't talk right now. Martha, thank God. Jack's voice crackles through the phone, urgent and strained. We've got a situation. The backup pilot for the Heritage flight just had a medical emergency. Heart palpitations. They're taking him to the hospital now. Martha closes her eyes, feeling the weight of fate pressing down on her shoulders. The F-16 demonstration is the centerpiece of the entire show, Jack continues. 50,000 people are coming to see it. The local veterans group is counting on the proceeds for their new facility. Martha, we're out of options. We need you. Principal Hayes steps closer, having heard every word through the phone speaker. Martha, he says quietly, sometimes we're called to be more than we think we are. Martha looks around the hallway she's walked thousands of times, past the bulletin boards she's maintained and the floors she's mopped. For 9 years, this has been her sanctuary, her place of quiet anonymity. But now, with Jack waiting on the phone and Hayes watching her with hopeful eyes, she realizes her past isn't something to hide from, it's something that might be needed now more than ever. Jack, she says into the phone, her voice barely steady, I need to think about this. Martha, the show is tomorrow. The final briefing is in 2 hours. If you're going to do this, I need to know now. The hallway falls silent except for the distant sound of students in classrooms and the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Martha stares at her reflection in the polished floor, seeing both the janitor she's become and the pilot she used to be. Her phone buzzes with an incoming text, and as she reads it, her face goes pale. Jack's message is simple but devastating, emergency pilot meeting at 1,400 hours. Last chance to save the show. The emergency call echoes through Martha's mind as she drives toward the airfield, her hands gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. 9 years of carefully constructed normalcy crumbles with each mile. The radio crackles with updates about the airshow crisis, their lead pilot has been rushed to the hospital, and they need someone who can handle the F-16 demonstration flight in just 2 hours. Martha parks outside the hangar where she first learned to fly 30 years ago. The familiar smell of aviation fuel and metal hits her as she steps out, and suddenly she's 25 again, fearless and hungry for the sky. Jack Thompson rushes toward her, relief flooding his weathered face. Martha, thank God you came. I know this isn't easy, but we need you. The crowd is expecting a full demonstration, and there's no one else qualified. He hands her a flight suit, the fabric heavy with memory and possibility. She stares at the suit, remembering the last time she wore one. The accident that ended her military career wasn't her fault, but the guilt had grounded her spirit along with her wings. Jack, what if I can't do this anymore? What if I've forgotten how to really fly? Martha Simmons, Jack says firmly, some things you never forget. And flying? Flying is in your blood. In the changing room, Martha slides into the flight suit, each zipper pulled bringing back muscle memories she thought was dead. Her reflection in the mirror shows not a janitor hiding from her past, but a pilot reclaiming her identity. The woman staring back has purpose burning in her eyes. The walk to the aircraft feels eternal. Thousands of spectators fill the bleachers, expecting a show none of them will ever forget. Martha approaches the F-16, its sleek frame gleaming in the afternoon sun. Her hands trace the fuselage like greeting an old friend, checking systems with practiced precision that surprises even herself. Anna appears at her side, having driven straight from the school after hearing the news on the radio. I knew it, she whispers, tears streaming down her face. I knew you were extraordinary. Martha climbs into the cockpit, her body remembering every switch, every gauge, every vibration of the machine. The canopy closes, sealing her into a world she thought she'd lost forever. The engine roars to life beneath her, power coursing through the aircraft and into her soul. Tower, this is Eagle One, requesting clearance for takeoff. She speaks into her headset, her voice steady and commanding for the first time in years. The F-16 shoots down the runway like a bolt of lightning, lifting into the sky with Martha's heart soaring alongside. The ground falls away, and suddenly she's free, truly free, for the first time since she hung up her wings. The aircraft responds to her touch like an extension of her own body, rolling and climbing with balletic precision. Below, the crowd gasps as Martha executes a perfect barrel roll, followed by a knife-edge pass that brings the jet within feet of the ground before pulling up in a spectacular climb. She performs maneuvers that most pilots only dream of attempting, her skills not diminished but refined by years of longing. The announcer's voice booms across the airfield, "Ladies and gentlemen, that's Captain Martha Simmons, former squadron leader and one of the finest pilots this country has ever produced." The crowd erupts in thunderous applause as Martha brings the fighter in for a textbook landing. As she taxis back to the hangar, she sees faces pressed against the fence, students from her school, fellow janitors, teachers who never saw past her mop and bucket. Their expressions of awe and admiration tell her everything she needs to know. Martha removes her helmet, her gray hair catching the sunlight. She's no longer hiding. Jack helps her down from the cockpit, and the crowd surges forward, but she's looking for one person. Anna pushes through, embracing her tightly. "Why did you hide this from everyone?" Anna asks through happy tears. Martha looks up at the sky, then back at the people celebrating around her. "I thought I had to choose between who I was and who I became. But maybe the best parts of us don't disappear, they just wait for the right moment to soar again." Standing there surrounded by cheering crowds, still wearing her flight suit, Martha Simmons has finally learned that extraordinary doesn't have to be extraordinary all the time. Sometimes it just needs to be ready when the world calls. The janitor and the fighter pilot aren't two different people, they're both her, and both matter. And that realization? That's worth more than all the applause in the world. What hidden talents are you keeping locked away? Share your story in the comments below. And remember, it's never too late to let your dreams take flight again.